Snow hammered the highway like 1,000 tiny knives the night everything changed for Ryder Cole, a man the town whispered about as if he were a ghost, the former outlaw biker who'd ridden with the Hells Angels before disappearing to raise his little girl alone. But nothing in his rough past prepared him for the sight that stopped his heart cold: his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, curled against a schoolyard fence in the middle of a blizzard, her tiny backpack half buried in drifting snow, her lips blue, her fingers stiff, her breath shallow enough to make him fear he was already too late. Before we go deeper, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of people coming together when it truly matters, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. That simple moment of support helps stories like this reach more hearts in the world. Ryder dropped his bike and sprinted toward her, stumbling as panic crushed the breath from his lungs. He'd been working late, fighting through snow to reach her school, assuming she was warm inside waiting for him, never imagining that a cruel twist of fate and a careless system had left her locked out in the storm after a power outage forced staff to leave early. He gathered her into his arms, feeling how frighteningly cold she was, and in that instant, the world around him fell silent. He carried her to his motorcycle, wrapping her in his leather jacket, shielding her with his body from the brutal wind. Ryder had lived through gang wars, prison fights, and nights on the road when death felt an inch away, but none of that compared to this primal terror, this fear of losing the one person who made him believe he could be better than the man he once was. He tried calling for help, but no ambulance could reach the backroads quickly in the storm. His bike struggled through the drifts, slipping, skidding, the engine choking on frozen air as he fought the road with teeth grit from desperation. By the time he reached the outskirts of town, Lily's breathing had faded into weak, fragile gasps. Ryder knew he needed a miracle, something beyond his own strength, something bigger than the fractured life he'd tried to rebuild. And without hesitation, without pride, without caring about old wounds or old enemies, he pulled out the number he never thought he'd use again, the emergency line to his old Hells Angels brothers. The response was instant. Within minutes, the roaring thunder of engines echoed across the snowy dark as dozens, then hundreds, of bikers emerged through the swirling white. Flashing headlights cut through the storm like a fiery procession from another world. One by one, they arrived until nearly 300 Hells Angels stood circling Ryder and his daughter, forming a protective wall of heat, noise, and strength. They brought blankets, portable heaters, medical kits, and whatever supplies they had strapped to their bikes. They formed a convoy, guiding Ryder in the center, blocking wind with their bodies and their bikes, heating the air with idling engines, turning a deadly blizzard into a barrier-breaking force of loyalty and raw human compassion. As they moved as a unit toward the nearest hospital, townspeople peered through windows, stunned into silence. For years they'd judged these bikers as nothing but troublemakers, men of leather, noise, and rebellion. Yet here they were, risking the storm, risking their lives, acting with more unity and devotion than the town had ever shown them. And at the heart of it all was a father, clutching his daughter while a brotherhood he'd once abandoned now carried him like family. Many of the riders remembered Lily from cookouts, road stops, and Sunday mornings when Ryder brought her by, making sure she grew up knowing love even in unsteady circumstances. To them, she wasn't just a child in need, she was one of their own. When they burst through the hospital doors as a massive wall of bodies, doctors and nurses didn't waste a second. Lily was rushed into emergency care, wrapped in thermal blankets, connected to warm fluids, and surrounded by frantic teams fighting frostbite and hypothermia. Ryder waited in the hallway, soaked, trembling, his hands frozen and bloodied from the road. Dozens of angels lined the hall behind him, silent, their leather dripping melted snow, their faces carved with worry. They stayed through the night, all of them, refusing to leave until they knew she was safe, turning sterile hospital corridors into a living shield of loyalty, strength, and fierce protective love. Hours later, a doctor stepped out and nodded. Lily was recovering. Her small body had fought hard, and the warmth she received on the convoy ride had made the difference. Ryder collapsed into a chair, tears spilling down his face, not caring who saw. The angels clapped him on the back, some with tears in their eyes as well, because even the toughest men know the weight of love when life hangs by a thread. When the sun rose, melting the remnants of the storm, the entire town gathered outside the hospital, stunned by the hundreds of bikes lined up like a massive steel army that had appeared overnight. Word had spread of what they'd done, how a feared biker gang had shown the kind of compassionate courage that changed everything people thought they knew. As Lily slowly woke, her tiny voice cracked but clear, calling for her dad. Ryder held her gently, brushing her hair back, realizing how close he'd come to losing the person who saved him from himself years ago. He whispered promises that he would never let anything or anyone hurt her again, and that he'd spend his life proving he was the father she deserved. Behind him, dozens of angels softly tapped on the window to wave at her, and Lily smiled weakly, recognizing faces she'd known since she was little. It became clear in that moment, the town would never forget what those 300 riders had done, because they hadn't done it for glory or redemption, they'd done it for Lily, the town mayor, who once banned biker events, publicly thanked them. Teachers apologized to Ryder for the negligence that left Lily outside. Neighbors brought food, blankets, flowers. And the angels? They simply revved their engines at sunset and rode off in a long, unbroken line, knowing their job was done. But they left behind a message burned into the heart of everyone who witnessed it. Never judge the depth of a person's loyalty by the patches on their jacket or the rumors surrounding their past. Sometimes the people you fear the most are the ones who will save you when it matters. As Lily healed and Ryder rebuilt his life more fully around her, he often remembered that night, the engines breaking through the blizzard, the warmth of brotherhood, the power of second chances. And he carried that lesson like a flame in his chest. That kindness can come from the places you least expect, and that sometimes it takes the roar of 300 motorcycles to remind a cold town what humanity really looks like. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly supports the channel and helps powerful real-life stories like this reach more people who need a reminder of hope. Please comment your thoughts right here. Before the ending, tell us what moment hit you the hardest, and as the snow melted and life carried forward, Ryder never forgot the night the world tried to take his daughter, and the 300 angels who helped him fight back against the storm.